The sub-intel is previously touched on topics, indicative pointers or confirming pieces that have been put out previously, or hints. So, first one is President Trump is considering replacing Dan Coats as the Director of National Intelligence and is holding informal meetings with potential candidates. And sources said that Trump had spoke to two people in the past week about the job, and among the candidates he is considering are General Joseph Ford, who is the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Fred Fleitz, who served as the Chief of Staff to National Security Advisor John Bolton. Looks like half method to me. You're going to hear that term a lot. I've mentioned it previously, I've just shortened it. So what does it mean? Half, hire, attention, fire. Watch out for more halves. To the question, I should have added this person's name in to the people I bothered to check up. Tyler Durden on Zero Hedge. He does some really good investigative pieces, and I read a piece of his this week about a honeypot blackmail. The message to him is your destination point was in Virginia. The dollar volume of homes purchased by foreign buyers from April 2018 through March 2019 has dropped by 36% from the previous year. The Chinese were the leading buyers for the seventh consecutive year, purchasing an estimated $13.4 billion worth of residential property, and yet that was a 56% decline from the previous 12 months, and comparatively the biggest percentage drop of all foreign buyers. Stephen Mnuchin saying funds will run out in September bears out what we said previously, except it's not September. They were struggling to make payroll as of this Monday. Following on from last week, Stephanie Nisnik, an actress who appeared in Star Trek Insurrection, died this week, aged 52. Irish actor Carl Shields, who starred as Robbie Quinn on the TV soap opera Fair City, has died, aged 47. The latest BS from Facebook is Face App, where an AI-generated system that digitally enhances your picture, and you can allegedly see how you're going to age. All very cool, except it's not for those that think straight. This is another cleverly disguised facial recognition database, and people are participating in it and then crying about Big Brother whilst they participate. Those that never thought of that as a use for it need to future think more. Think of how items can be weaponized against us, because almost all technology is weaponized against us currently. So anything future will be the same unless real changes are made. The CEO of one of America's most influential Israel lobby groups has stepped down amid reports of a funding crisis. Oops. Josh Bloch's resignation at the head of the Israel Project comes less than a year after an undercover documentary revealed many of the group's covert activities. Donors and trustees are likely to have viewed how the organisation allowed itself to be infiltrated by a reporter as a serious lapse, And in a note to supporters, however, Block blamed the polarised political climate in the United States for making it more difficult for the group to recruit, or people are starting to see through the lies. And the note was seen by the JTA, an American Jewish news agency. Now, Block refused to speak on the record to JTA, and the funding to the Israel project dropped by almost one half, based on the group's most recently available tax returns, which predates the Undercover documentary. Now, one of the Israel project funders is convicted tax cheat Adam Milstein, and the Undercover investigation which revealed in it last year. And in it, the group's fundraising director at the time privately admits that Milstein funds the Israel project, as well as Canary Mission, which is an anonymous anti-Palestinian blacklisting website. This is what the Jewish people have to stop giving funds. They're not helping their own people or the country of Israel. This is clowns. Now, the film The Lobby USA was made by Al Jazeera Investigations Unit, but never broadcast on the Qatari channel after a massive censorship push by the Israel lobby. Go figure. And their undercover reporter observed the Israeli project from the inside after becoming an intern in 2016 and later even being offered a job. Now, the Electronic Intifada released all 4 parts of the film last year, and the film reveals that the Israel project is running a massive online influencing campaign. And the group, predictably, runs a series of Facebook pages which appear to be about subjects unrelated to Israel, such as history, women's rights and environmentalism. But in reality, the pages are run by the Israel project that have produced content that has reached millions of viewers. That's how the algorithms work. They just funnel people to these pages. A lot of it's just random topics, and then maybe like 25% of it would be like Israel or Jewish based, according to a staffer who worked for the Israeli project on the pages. They also said they have a lot of side projects that we are trying to influence the public debate with. And that's why Israel project is a secretive thing in our country. Isn't that spying? Foreign country passing their propaganda. This is according to Sashtel, Jordan Sashtel, who told Al Jazeera undercover reporter, and he stated, because we don't want people to know that these side projects are associated with the Israel project. Now, in February, the Electronic Intifada revealed that Facebook had given a green light to this secretive influence campaign on behalf of a foreign state. Our Facebook spokesperson claimed to the Electronic Intifada that the influence campaign pages don't violate any of Facebook's pages policy. Well, it wouldn't, would it? Given Zuckerberg with a silent F runs it, and we all know where he's from and related to. This was sent in by one of the members, and it's something we've covered in the past. We've tried to engage privately behind the scenes of the fun and games going on in Puerto Rico currently. Now, apparently a scandal has broken out in Puerto Rico since the arrests by the FBI of former Secretary of Education Julia Keller, and plus some others related to the current government. And what it unearthed was a scandalous Telegram private chat that includes the governor, Ricardo Rossello, and his close circle of associates has been made public. Now, the true character of these people have now been exposed, and no one is being spared. In Spanish, it has some slang, and the person who's been contacting us about helping in Puerto Rico said, "I'm wordless and astonished. All the people involved have either resigned or are being dismissed." And yesterday the governor came from his interrupted vacation in France and asked for forgiveness. But this is morally and politically unforgivable, according to the spokeswoman. One of the mentioned was the federally named ex-police reform monitor, and he went to the FBI to denounce the situation and gave them the chat. Now, there was a private party meeting this week, and all requested that the governor's resignation in 24 hours or he will be impeached starting next week. So that's what happens when you interfere in wrong places. Well, we mentioned the story earlier about Mr. Trump and allegedly hurling racial invective at 4 non-white lawmakers. I notice they differentiate that. They don't differentiate when people are calling Trump as being racist, as non-black or non-brown or non-Hispanic. Why did they use that term? Well, listen, those that have listened to From Russia with Love will know why. Now, he accused one of the first 2 Muslim women in Congress of harbouring animosity towards Jews. Well, actually, that's up to the Jewish people to deal with, not an American president personally, but we all know there's trouble in that sort of camp. And in an apparent attempt to claim the moral high ground in an explosive contest over identity, patriotism and bigotry. Now, Trump had a go at Ilhan Omar, who was a Somali-born refugee who fled civil war when she was 12. And Trump said she's been saying horrible things about Israel, hates Israel and hates Jews. Well, if that country's being bombed by those people, then I'm not surprised. That's what happens. That's the consequences. It's like the Iranian people hate Americans now because they've shot down one of their drones. Or the Iraqi people hate Americans because we absolutely obliterated their country. You know, I could carry on for another hour. That's what happens. They're entitled to hate that country who's been bombing them into oblivion. And Mr. Trump needs to recognise that and deal with the problem. But the overall issue is Trump's initial comment has been taken totally out of context. And this goes back to political correctness. That's your speech control system working in its full glory. And political correctness was for these type of situations. It's what the system was designed for. And political correctness encourages racism and all kinds of so-called minority groups to get offended at anything and everything. And it's all designed for one group. And yet again, using the terminology of being a Jew or a Jewish person, but in real terms, it's about the Nazis, SS and Zionists. It's all about keeping the heat off those people. For those, like I said, who've listened to From Russia with Love, you can see it in its full glory and in action. And that's what political correctness is all about. That's why you're banned of investigating or speaking against one particular country. Why? Like there's an old saying, the truth never feared investigation. That's why I do Q&A. I've got nothing to hide. That's why I put out my transcripts for people to see if I've changed the narrative. Anyone who wants to block anything from being investigated or talked about is covering up for a reason, and that's why political correctness was brought in. Last sub-intel, I think this was Tyler Durden again, if not mistaken. Could be wrong. But what happened with Deutsche Bank, which we reported about a few weeks ago, and the Quant Fund pulled its cash from the Deutsche Bank as a result of soaring counterparty risk just days before the full and to many devastating extent of the German lender's historic restructuring was disclosed. As per usual, certain clouds pull all kinds of funds out when they know it's going to sink. And the end result is a bank that is radically different from what the Deutsche Bank was previously. Now that Rentec is long gone and the questions about viability of Deutsche Bank are swirling, yes, it won't be insolvent overnight, but like the world's biggest melting ice cube, there is simply no equity value there anymore. This is what we've been saying. They've got no equity. In fact, it's negative. And what's been happening is everyone else has now decided to cut their risks with the bank, and it's 45 trillion euros worth in derivatives, which are mostly hedge funds, and they've now started a bank run, which has culminated in about $1 billion per day being pulled from the bank. They can't carry on that for much longer, and they will shut the doors, and others will follow. Now, as a result of this, which is like a modern version of a bank run and almost layman-style lockup, which could freeze their funds indefinitely. So anyone who's got money in Deutsche Bank needs to get rid of it. Now, Deutsche Bank is considering how to transfer some 150 billion euros of balances, which is about $168 billion, which is held in its prime brokerage unit along with technology and potentially hundreds of staff, and transferring it to French banking giant BNP. Remember me talking about giant mergers? There you go.